This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, this is our ANCAN meeting for St. Valentine's Day 2023. My name is Peter Kafka. I'll be moderating tonight with the help of Herb and Ben. Some of our usual crew is not here tonight. Rick is in San Francisco or traveling to San Francisco for a the ANSCO conference there, correct? Which is a big deal, and we've got a poster there. We've got a presence there, and I'm sure something great will come of it, and we'll hear more about it. Len is away as well. Len's son, I think, is coming in at an airport and he's picking him up. So Len is off as well. But Ben is here and Herb is here to help me out this evening, which I'm thankful for. Our sponsors we have a number of sponsors, and I'm not going to name them all because they appear on the announcement, the reminder notice that went out. The big ones were Bayer and Pfizer, who've been with us for over a year now, supporting our endeavors. This is a big step for a number of the pharmaceutical companies to support groups like ours. They usually in the past have only supported research, but now they see the value of peer support groups such as ours. So we're thankful for them, but we're not beholden to them. We're not here to promote their products, their drugs, their scans, their other products, but we're here to work with them, and we appreciate their support. And it's allowed us to reach further afield. So there's a few people who just joined. Harry, do you have anything tonight?
No, not tonight, thanks.
Okay. Jim Barnes, do you have anything tonight?
No, thank you, Peter.
Yay. Okay. So, as I said, my name is Peter Kafka. I'm moderating tonight. We don't have as large a group as I think last week we had 57 people. A lot of them were here as a result of the webinar we did with Dr. Mark Schultz the week before that drew some 600 plus people for it. And it was quite a remarkable, thought-provoking and engaging presentation he did. It sure got me thinking about a number of things, which came up last night in our group. Last night I moderated the low and intermediate group, and we had 7 people new to the call that last night. A couple of them might join us tonight who didn't quite fit in that group, but they fit in ours. So this is the advanced recurrent group, where we talk about a number of things that are not appropriate for the low and intermediate group or the active surveillance group, but oddly enough, it's the active surveillance group that has the most anxiety. The people that think, oh no, I'm living with cancer. As though those of us in the advanced group are not. But we just don't seem to have quite the anxiety as the people with a very low-grade disease that are going to live a long, fruitful life, maybe without ever getting any kind of treatment and never having to deal with a lot of the crazy protocols that some of us have gone through. So with that said, let's go. Anyone new to the group usually gets priority and goes to the front of the line. And we're going to start with Richard Talbert. And I'll ask you several questions just to facilitate our discussion and get us going. And also Alfred Wolf, who lives, I met recently, who lives here on Maui, where I am. He's new to our group as well. So those two will have the chance, if they're comfortable with it, to kind of kick us off. And so we'll start with Richard. So Richard, where are you from?
I am in Texas, in the suburb of Houston, Cypress.
Oh, good. And how old are you?
I am 73.
73. Okay. And when were you first diagnosed with
I was
prostate cancer?
diagnosed in January of 2021.
Okay. And at that time, did you get a biopsy? Did you have a Gleason score and was there a PSA at diagnosis?
Mine is kind of a different story.
Okay. Tell us.
I've been in healthcare and the pharmaceutical industry pretty much all my career, and probably know a little too much to be dangerous. And but like most men, I didn't do my regular follow-ups as should have been done. I started having some back pain in November of 2019 or 2020, I'm sorry. And, I just thought it was, typical back pain, started going to a chiropractor, and I'd done that before and got some relief. But I started losing weight. My energy level was down, and I had just accepted a new position with Myriad Pharmaceuticals that was to start in January of 2021. But 2 weeks prior, I went to see my primary care physician, and hadn't been there in so long. They gave me a standing ovation when I walked in, and they had to set some baselines up. So one of the things they did was ordered a PET scan, and it's a Friday afternoon, and they my wife was able to get me in. They said they were full, but they got me in, and I noticed that the technician was going back and forth quite a bit, so I knew something was wrong. They couldn't give me the barium because my kidney function was too high, but the PCP said go ahead and do the scan. So 2 hours after I got home, I got the call from the office saying that they had some concerns about the scan, and they thought it was cancer and wanted me to go check into the hospital. And that's when my journey began.
Okay, so you were diagnosed essentially de novo metastatic.
Correct.
Right.
My PSA was 454.
Wow. Okay.
I did 2 stints in the hospital. I was, on the first day, I had a Lupron shot, and I was on another cancer med. But after the second stay, I got a staph infection. Uh, and I don't know how that happened, but I had to go back into the hospital. But I had 19 targeted radiation treatments, and I have been on Xtandi and Orgovyx for the last 18 months. I got a grant from the Assistance Fund, and my PSA has been undetectable over the last 15 to 16 months. But I was denied the grant for 2023 because of lack of funding. And so now I'm scrambling to try to maintain this regimen because the outcomes have been so good and I'm doing so well. But without that grant, my copay is $3,259 a month.
Whoa.
For the Xtandi. Yeah, and
So,
165.
Okay, so where are you being treated? Hopefully at MD Anderson or.
Well, it's interesting you say that. No, I'm not. My oncologist works out of an HCA, North Cyprus HCA, And I've been very pleased with both my radiation and medical oncologist. And one of my former reps who worked for me when I was in the industry, he found out what was going on with me health wise, and he works for Pfizer. And he called to just check on me, and he confirmed with my wife that based on where I was with stage 4 advanced cancer, that Xtandi and Orgovyx were the best regimen for me to be on.
Okay. So I'm sure some of the guys here have some comments to make. There's
Well,
right off
first
the
of all,
bat, huh?
how about genetic testing?
I did do genetic testing, and not predisposed for any genetics. So they have 2 sons, and my oncologist wanted to make sure that it was not a genetic issue.
Okay.
So did they
So,
test both the tumor and your germline?
Yes,
And they didn't find any mutations that could have been actionable.
no, they did not.
so okay. So another question is, so you have an oncologist, medical oncologist, um, and you say you're comfortable with that person at this point, yes?
Yes, yeah, very comfortable. My wife
Yes.
and my family, we all have been. He's been great, both the radiation and the medical oncologist.
Okay. Does he specialize in prostate cancer, or is he a general medical oncologist?
No, he specializes in prostate cancer.
And what's his name?
His name is Dr. Charles Yen.
Yan, Y-A-N?
Yen.
Okay. And so a couple of quick questions. I'm assuming you're on Medicare, but what you're saying is you do not have supplemental coverage for drugs and so forth. Is that what
Well,
you're
I have
saying?
Medicare, but I also have a Cigna plan. But again,
Okay.
it doesn't cover the Xtandi as it should. Without the copay, that drug is like $12,500 a
Right.
month.
So Charles Yen is not a specialist in GU med-onc.
Okay.
He's a general hematologist.
Okay.
And while you're asking your colleagues whether these 2 drugs, Orgovyx and your second generation anti-androgen, are adequate, we would recommend that you seek out a GU med-onc as your quarterback.
Okay.
This field is moving too fast. You're
Right.
on traditional drugs now, and they're working. You're telling us it's working.
Right.
But our experience here is that eventually they stop working.
Correct.
And then you're going to need to move on.
Right.
And
So
given that you're in Houston, you have access to one of the most creative and best GU med-oncs available in your town. And, from our point of view, it would be better to get an opinion sooner rather than later as to where you are and what would be in the future.
Okay.
And her name is Dr. Eleni Evstathiou, and
Can
she's
you spell that?
at Houston Methodist.
Okay.
And I forget. Rick would know. Who's seen Eleni lately on this call? Okay, Julian, why don't you tell us about Eleni?
Let me turn my mic on. I went to see her when I first time I went to go see her. I took a whole bunch of questions, and she answered every one of them. And then she started with her own questions, of course. And has very good bedside manners, listens to you, and then tells you how it is. And she doesn't hold anything back. She's going to tell you what her experience has told her. And I don't think you can find a better MO, medical oncologist, than Dr. Eleni.
Now, is she at Methodist in the medical center?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
she is.
he's a Methodist. And you could probably get a second opinion appointment with her. And the other brilliant guy in the field, one of the best, is at MD Anderson, and his name is Dr. Paul Korn, Corn. He's harder to get an appointment with, but he's an outstanding. What they're called is GU medical oncologists. They specialize in genitourinary diseases such as prostate cancer, kidney function, those kind of cancers.
Okay.
So,
And Peter, this is Jim Ward here. As you may know, I see Dr. Korn, and I can personally vouch for him as an excellent GU med onc. I like his bedside manner as well. He's a very compassionate guy and a very knowledgeable guy, and I recommend him highly.
Yeah.
right.
So,
Yeah. So,
did you have any questions for us?
No, I think you've guided me in the right way. I don't think I have any additional questions.
okay. So, as Herb indicated, there are a number of second-line anti-androgens that can work just as effectively as Xtandi, that you might be able to get help with. One is abiraterone, also called Zytiga.
Right. Yeah. Dr. Yin had mentioned that.
Right. Another one is darolutamide, which is a Bayer drug called Nubeqa. And I qualified for their patient assistance program. I took darolutamide for 3 years. I'm off it now, but for 3 years, they sent it to me every month. It never went through my insurance. They just sent it to me because I qualified under their patient assistance program. So, I mean, there are other ways to go because you're right. These drugs are $10,000 to $12,000 a month, but they work.
Right.
And the advantage I found with darolutamide was it didn't cause the brain fog that some of the other drugs did. It doesn't break the blood-brain barrier. So I wasn't constantly walking around forgetting, which foot to put my left shoe on.
Right.
I just, I didn't have that brain fog which comes with some of these drugs. So,
Has anybody had any experience with this new radiotherapy that Novartis has? And I forget the name of it.
Pluvicto?
Is that it? It was just approved maybe 3 or 4 months ago?
Yes, there's a number, probably several people. I don't know who's on the call who's like, trying to look around right now.
For sure, me.
Yeah, Herb. Herb can tell you about it.
And
right
Jim
now.
Barnes.
Right.
So,
Before,
our experience is that you get these treatments as you need them.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through several other treatments before Pluvicto was offered to me, and I wish I had the latest numbers, but the last numbers I had was that it was pretty successful. However, we don't know about the durability
Right.
of Pluvicto. That's really where the question mark is currently out because it's so new.
Right. And also being in the medical field, you know that these drugs are approved based on trials.
Correct.
And the trials set the parameters. So right now, Pluvicto is usually, at least in North America or America, only available after you've done chemotherapy.
Hmm.
And I'm assuming they haven't offered you chemotherapy at this point. You're just on ADT and second line anti-androgen, correct?
Correct.
Right. So
So,
go ahead,
I
Herb.
mean, have you, so the question I have you been, are you on our mailing list? Did you, so that we can keep, you can get reminders of our calls?
Yes. Matter of fact, Rick signed me up.
Okay. Any other, you have any other further questions?
Oh,
I mean, I think you're, basically, we think that an MO is important, a GU med-onc is really important for anybody with metastatic prostate cancer.
right.
And having access to those two people in Houston, I think you would be well served getting another opinion sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Richard, this is Jim Marshall. How are you handling and with the side effects?
Jim, I haven't had many side effects at all. A little bit
Do
of
you
fatigue.
exercise a lot?
Yes.
Ah, yes, the key element
Yeah. And I
is
think,
exercise, hydration
yep.
is also a big thing. And are you also encountering hot flashes?
Yes. I'm going through male menopause. Yes.
Okay, who would like to explain to him the device or
And
EmbrWave? Who has it? Who can talk about it?
Frank, go ahead.
It's well, as Rick says, it's a gizmo. You wear it on your wrist,
Okay.
and what happens is if you have it set up properly, when you start to get a hot flash, is you take and push one of the buttons, and you push it twice, and it gives you, I don't know if you can see it, a blue light that tells you a cooling cycle is going on in your wrist. And with the latest device, you can set it for a length of time. I have
Okay.
mine set for 10 minutes.
Okay.
So when my hot flash comes on, it starts at the top of my head
Yeah.
and moves down into my chest and my lower body. So I know when it's coming and I engage it, and it hasn't eliminated my hot flashes, but it's reduced the intensity and the length of time that it flashes, and that's been a big help to me. And I get hot flashes about maybe 8 to 9 times a day.
Yeah.
And I use it. I have the second button program for a sleep cycle that I can press it going to bed and it'll stay activated in a cold cycle for 30 minutes. And that helps me if a flash comes on while I'm trying to go to sleep. Of course, that'll knock off any indication I'm going to get to sleep. But this helps control it. And it's about, you can get it on Amazon, and the new one that's round, it's just under $300 for it.
And what is it called?
Ember, EMBR.
Okay.
You can Google it and go online, see what it's about, watch the videos, and it's been successful with me, and I know it's been successful with others in the NCAN Zoom.
Okay.
But it doesn't work for everyone, so it's not
No.
like a magic
Right.
bullet. Someone was
Right.
speaking earlier when we were just gathering that it didn't work for them. So, but it works in the female community as well because they are long experience in hot flashes. So it's not just marketed to those of us with prostate cancer. So, question, Richard, so you had radiation, did that take away the back pain, the issues with your mets in the spine?
Yeah, it did. Only time that I do feel it, when I maybe overextend myself walking, my back tends to tighten up a bit, but no recurrent back pain as I had prior to the radiation.
Okay. Did they do a PSMA scan on you to see if there's any soft tissue involvement or anything else outside
Yes,
the prostate?
they did, yes, and that was all negative.
So it's just in the bones and the prostate at this point.
Correct.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'm sure your doctors told you that no such word as cure in our advanced category. The word
Right.
is management.
Yeah.
And there are many therapies and protocols, and you're gonna be around for a while, even at the age of 73. I mean, many of us have been dealing with this for quite a few years, and we've gone from one protocol to another, and we haven't reached the end yet.
Right.
So there's a lot of promise, and as Herb pointed out, this is a rapidly changing field, which
Yes.
is, I'm not saying that your doctor is not qualified, but you might want to get another opinion.
Right.
Julian,
Hi.
Julian, in the chat window, Julian put the contact phone number for Dr. Eleni Estafiew, and Paul Korn is reachable through MD Anderson there in Houston as well. And it might be wise to just get a second opinion, because probably there'll be other things in your future, and it might well involve chemotherapy. It might well involve some other more elaborate treatments, as you were alluding to.
Right.
Richard.
Yes.
The thing is, I don't think you happen to mention what kind of a Gleason score and how many of the needles.
I don't think he had a biopsy.
Oh, he didn't?
I did not. I did not have a biopsy.
He was de novo. He was already metastatic. They knew from the
Right.
Well, that's true, but I would imagine that a Gleason score should be appropriate. I mean, if it's a 7, 3 plus 4, it's a big difference from a Gleason 9.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't. That'll come up in a minute. We've got our next guest is in the same situation, oddly enough, and they're not the only ones. But
Peter, is he able to afford the drugs he's on right now since he's off of the assistance fund grant? Because that's what happened to me, Mike, and I no longer have the assistance fund. The same thing happened to me.
Right.
And I'm on abiraterone acetate and Lupron and prednisone, the standard. And I don't know how many people have heard of it, but it's Mark Cuban's
he's looking around
Cost
for
Plus Drugs. And anyway, that's all I was going to say.
Go ahead. Why don't you, Richard?
To answer your question, I have approximately 2 months of the Xtandi left and 3 months of the Orgovyx, and I'm like I said, I'm dialing for dollars as we speak to see where I can find some funding for this.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. My abiraterone acetate was $800 to me if I didn't take the grant. And I am now paying for it myself for $112 a month.
Okay.
So
Jerry, why don't you
that's
put the
just-
information in the chat window for us all? Put the name of the grant in the chat window, okay?
okay. All right.
Okay. Because we're gonna move on.
I was
But,
I wanted to ask him a quick question, Richard. Aren't you just about in your donut hole? Couldn't there only be about 7,000?
You know, I'm not sure.
Yeah, look. Oh, they send you. Well, our Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicare Advantage sends me every month. They send me what my drugs have been and how much we out of pocket.
Right.
So but it should only be, it's whatever your co-pays are. I mean, I'm paying $8.95 on my Orgovyx, and I've got the darolutamide coming for free.
Yeah.
But so I only have to pay like 6 months, and then it'll be $8.95, and then the rest of the months it'll be a lot less. I don't know how much. I haven't
Well,
figured it. A
my
lot less.
Orgovyx now would be 165.
There you go. Yeah, then you're in the donut hole.
Yeah, but the Xtandi is 3,200.
Still? It seems
Yeah.
like it should be less.
Yeah.
okay, Richard, keep in touch with us. And yeah, there's workarounds. A lot of the guys have found workarounds, as I said, including myself. I got Bayer to send me 3 years worth of darolutamide every month like clockwork for free. Never even went through my insurance. So
Thank you,
there
gentlemen.
are workarounds. Okay. Alfred, are you comfortable working with us?
I'm brand new to this, and so I'm finding out what's happening and what's going on, and it's interesting to hear people's experiences.
Right. So I'm gonna introduce you because Alfred and I spent a short time together week and a half ago. We're not exactly. He's a neighbor of my partner.
The electron.
So, we got to meet each other. So Alfred also was diagnosed de novo metastatic. He has not had a biopsy, so he does not have a Gleason score. But he's a Kaiser patient.
Mass of the electron.
Paul, I think your mic is on. Thank you. So he's a Kaiser patient here on Maui. Sees a local oncologist who's not a specialist. We're limited here. There's no GU med-oncs in Hawaii at all. He's on Lupron and Zytiga, and he's pretty recently on. He's not experiencing the side effects that some of us were talking about quite yet, but they are probably shortly in the wings. He hasn't been on those drugs that long. And he's 77, in good shape, gets plenty of exercise, does a lot of yard work, is used to trimming trees and taking care of his place, and he's a pretty active guy. But he's got a journey ahead of him. This came as quite a surprise. And again, just like Richard told us, it started with back pain. This is not going to be unusual in the days coming. There are more and more being diagnosed de novo. So go ahead, Herb.
No, Alfred, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like these same questions. How old are you?
Okay, I'm 77. I've lived on Maui for 50 years now. I'm very active in terms of my own half-acre lot where I grow fruits and vegetables and sell them in the local farmers market. It's just that my energy level has dropped since these drugs got going in my system, and I got
So,
kind of a
but
late start on it because I didn't diagnose it very well, very quickly.
so can we
And
start
so
from the beginning? Because Peter, I'm still lost. You were diagnosed how long ago?
in November, they finally caught up with me. I should have been caught a lot sooner, but things just got in the way and it didn't happen until then. And then they said, oh, you got to come in right now and get this radiation on your back because that was the
So
place that was
so
giving
you were
them
diagnosed in November of what?
last year,
2022.
3 months
And
ago. Yeah,
and where what was your PSA at the time?
it was 90 something.
90 something?
Yeah,
And so then you went to a general oncologist, and what did they prescribe? What did they do?
they sent me to a cancer center here on Maui and radiated my spine, which is where the cancer
Did they
had.
do any scans first?
Yes, they did. They did an
And
MRI
so,
and then followed up with a couple of other ones.
and they never looked at PSMA. You never had a PET scan.
I have had a CAT scan and a bone
A
scan.
PET scan. A PET scan. Positron emission tomography.
No.
Okay. So the
Is that
current,
something? Is that something I
in
should get?
general, in general, you know, MRIs and CAT scans are conventional. Most
Mhm.
recently, to track down metastatic disease, we would use a radioactive tracer in a PET scan to know
Okay.
exactly where the disease is. And Peter, I take it it's not on you can't do it on Maui.
No, you can't. You have to go to Oahu or to Honolulu for it.
So it's, you know, it's again, I mean, Peter, again, I'll come down on the side of you need a GU medonc, no matter where they are. Peter, do you disagree with that?
No, and Alfred and I have talked about that. I've made some suggestions, and we'll continue to talk about it. But it means a trip to the mainland for him, and we'll talk. We'll follow up on
And
that.
then,
But right now,
right.
right
And what
now,
about, have you
wait,
had
hold on a
genetic
second.
testing?
Alfred's a Kaiser patient, and
Ah,
Kaiser
a Kaiser
has
patient.
limitations.
That's a problem.
Yes, and Alfred and I
Excuse
have
me,
talked about.
Peter. Excuse me, Peter. I am a Kaiser patient, and uh, the thing was, I got genetic testing by just asking for it. No problem.
Yes,
I am scheduled to have a discussion with a geneticist this Friday.
The
So
first
something
step.
But you haven't had, any genetic testing yet.
they've taken a sample of me and they've run it through the
Okay.
process, and I'm going to have a discussion with them on Friday.
So what sample did they take?
I don't know that. I'd have
I
to
mean, was it a was it a cheek swab, or was it a sample of your tumor?
It was not a sample of my tumor.
Okay. So there are two types of genetic testing. One is germline testing, which tells us if you have any mutations in your own genome that could predispose to cancer. The second
Okay.
is that the tumor itself can display genetics that allow for precision medicine.
Okay.
And most recommendations these days for metastatic disease, the guidelines indicate that you need both kinds of testing. One is called genetic and the other is called somatic, because that
Great.
will give a more complete picture. I mean, again, I don't know the Kaiser system, and being on Maui, it would seem to me, and this is what Peter does. He flies over to the mainland periodically for his treatment, and it may be that that's your best option.
That could be.
But again, if you're stuck with Kaiser, I don't know what they offer.
Okay. Where would you go on the mainland for that?
Well, there are many.
Alfred, I will meet with you this week and discuss some of those options with you, rather than take it all up on this call tonight. But there are a number of options, and even Kaiser has an excellent doctor in the Bay Area that you might be able to have a consultation with, and I'll get you her information as well. But Kaiser's a little bit slow. I mean, as we've discussed before, Kaiser's main interest is in saving money, not in saving lives. And so it takes a little bit of prodding and so forth. It brings up the question, though, that it came up while Richard was talking, that Jerry intimated. For people diagnosed de novo, is it, and they usually say, well, it's not important to do a biopsy because we already know this serious cancer, but through a biopsy, you can get material to have somatic testing done. So anybody want to weigh in on that? You know, how important is it after the fact to do a biopsy, to get a Gleason score, to know what you're working with, to get material, so you don't have to go for a bone biopsy or something? Anybody want to weigh in on that? I don't know what the answer is on that.
One thing, this is Ravi. So one thing I can say is that you have to ensure that while you're getting the biopsy, so that they're sure that there is enough of a sample. In my case, they determined that the sample taken during the biopsy was not enough for them to be able to do genetic testing on it.
Now, the other alternative, what is your current PSA, Alfred?
Well, January 10th, it was down to 50 something. So it had gone from nearly 100 to down to 50.
So it's 50. It's still relatively abundant. You could do a liquid biopsy if they will do it for you.
Okay,
You
I
know,
have no
liquid
idea.
biopsy actually looks at what's circulating in your blood, because at levels of tumor burden, they will find tumor cells in your bloodstream, and those can be analyzed. And that they can be analyzed for genetic testing. FMI, Foundation Medicine, is one of the companies that does it, but there are several others that can do a liquid biopsy. And again, this is something you need to discuss with a GU Med-Onc. This is something that if you were to GU Med-Onc, they would do automatically. Whether Kaiser does this automatically, I don't know.
Okay, I can push them.
Alfred, when is your next appointment with Kaiser, other than the geneticist? When do you see Dr. Pollack again?
I don't have one scheduled right now. I communicate very nicely over email with them. And if I've got what I think is a question, I'm sure I could get an appointment.
Okay. I will come up with a list of questions for him. I've met with Dr. Pollack before. He doesn't remember me, I'm sure, but I know him. But I'll come up with a list of questions for you and see what his response is.
Okay.
Which would be important.
Well, won't Kaiser on the mainland do teledoc?
Yes, and I'll give Alfred the name of Dr. Hartsock over there.
I mean, Dr. Hartsock is about their only one, isn't she?
Yeah, well, there's a gentleman there in the Bay Area as well, I believe, is still with Kaiser. But, Kaiser docs don't like to go against other Kaiser docs. That's my experience. They usually say, I agree with the care you're getting. They don't like to go out on a limb and say, well, I could do more, I could do better, or I could do more for you. I've never seen that kind of response yet, but it's possible, I guess.
I was reading just recently about another treatment, and I was just wondering if you know something about this. Anti-neoplastin therapy done in Texas.
Uh-oh.
No, we don't. And I don't know where did you read it from the primary literature or some website?
I can't remember that one at all, but it was
beware of Dr. Google. Dr. Google will lead you.
Okay. It was a process that had been developed in a couple of years, and they've had some luck on getting rid of the cancer, even at the metastatic stage.
Well, I mean, I think, and basically, Alfred, you really need intensive conventional treatment according to guidelines. And hopefully Kaiser can give that to you.
Okay.
But it may take more negotiation than just sort of what we might do with a private practice guy.
Okay, I just need to know what questions to ask and what processes to really push
Well,
for.
your PS right now, what drug are you on now?
Okay, I got that here. I've got a Lupron shot. I'm doing prednisone every day and abiraterone every day.
Okay, abiraterone. And how long have you been on abiraterone and prednisone?
Oh, about a month and a half.
And your PSA dropped from 100 to 50.
Yes.
And did they measure your serum testosterone?
Not that I know of.
So they need to know that. Because in order to make sure that the Lupron is working, you want them to have a very low level of testosterone.
Okay.
And if it's not working, that could explain why the PSA is still at 50.
Right.
Okay.
Herb, that drug takes a time to drop it. Mine took about 14 months to go from 7.5 to 0.01. So a month and a half. I'm not quite sure if that's bad.
No, but I still think testosterone should be lower.
Oh, absolutely. Alfred,
yes.
Are you getting a 3 or a 4 month shot?
I think it's. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up.
And then I have two other questions building on what Jim just said. Have you had a bone scan?
Yes, I have had a bone scan.
And did it show what your bone strength was?
It showed that I had the trouble in my spine, which had been cleared up, and there was a little tiny spot in my hip.
No, but I'm talking about bone density. DEXA scan.
I think it's there. I just don't know what those numbers are at this point.
Okay, so but a DEXA, the reason I'm asking is when you're having low testosterone, your bone density is going to decrease. So it's expected that they should give you a drug that will maintain your bone density. Such as one of them is called denosumab, would be an example. But you need something to protect your bones because people who are on long-term blockade of androgens often get fractures.
Okay.
And even though you're doing your exercise and you're growing flowers and plants, and I mean vegetables, it may be that you need that protection.
Okay.
So you need to also ask about what they're doing to protect your bones.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think the next thing is for you to meet with Peter, talk to Peter and see what you think you need to do next outside of Kaiser or within Kaiser.
I could appreciate that very much.
Yes,
I need to know.
Right, we're in touch with each other, and we will meet. It's very easy, and some of this I've gone over with him, but I mean, Kaiser doesn't even give him his blood test numbers, so we've got some work to do, and we will get on top of this. I promised Alfred we will, and he'll be okay. But we'll come up with a game plan. I wanted him to join and hear some of you guys and what you guys are working with and how we're dealing with this as a group and as individuals. So thank you very much for working with Alfred. So I'm going to jump over to Leo now. Leo was in our group last night, our low and intermediate group, and he's got a pretty unusual situation that doesn't come up in our group, but it's more fitting that he join us tonight. And I told him that and talked about it last night. He has recurrent disease. So I'm going to ask him some questions here, but he doesn't exactly fit into our advanced category, but we will stretch and see if we can put our heads together and help Leo make some sense out of what's going on. So Leo, how old are you?
I just turned 64.
Okay, and you live where?
I live in Hollywood, Florida.
Okay. And you were first diagnosed when?
I was diagnosed in early 2016. My PSA was around a 6. And then later in the year, it was up to 10.
Okay. And you had a biopsy done, right? At that point?
I had a biopsy. I was 3+3 with a 6 Gleason. And I visited radiology oncologist and prostatectomy. So I had a robotic prostatectomy in November of 2016. I was 0 PSA for some time, and this year I found out that my PSA had gone to 5. So it's recurring.
And you've had second opinions on your Gleason score, correct? And they all came back as a 6, a 3+3, correct?
Well, the opinion that I have is from the pathology report, which confirmed the 6 Gleason and a 10.5 PSA at the time. So I'll just wait for you to ask me the questions. So I'll go along with the program and just wait for you.
So, but you did have second opinions on the Gleason score, on the pathology, yes?
Not really. I mean, once I had the prostatectomy, my PSA was 0. It stayed that way for years. Okay. So I didn't really. I mean, my primary doctor was checking my PSA as my regular physicals and whatnot, and it remained 0 for some time until this year, or actually late last year, regular annual physical exam showed it was 5.
So, and
So
was that your, Leo, was that your last PSA reading?
no, I got one 3 weeks ago. I had so let me just stick to the question. So I had one 3 weeks ago and it was 7.
So it's
So that's
climbing.
why it's climbing. Yeah. So that's why I need to I Google doctor help me find this terrific group, and I decided to join you guys
So
for
which,
your.
right. So Hollywood, David, is that where you are? And so who would
Yes, very close.
would you recommend Dr. Belusic?
Yes. At University
So,
of Miami.
so
University of Miami. So let me just give a quick update what I've done. So I went to my urologist. I don't have an oncologist officially, so my urologist, which my primary doctor sent me to, had me go for a PSMA scan. That came back all negative. But I had shoulder surgery at Holy Cross in Broward County. So I went there because I saw that they had this new machine that does the radiology, the radiotherapy, whatever it's called, radioactive. And I went there and he looked at my PSMA scan. He looked at my CAT scan that I had done, and it's not showing clearly where the cancer is. So they're thinking it's microscopic. So they want to put me on Lupron or Orgovyx, and I wanted to join this group to get some kind of direction in terms of what might be best.
okay.
Yeah.
So Leo, we would say to you what we're saying to everybody else. You now have metastatic disease. That's not the purview of a urologist. That's not the purview of a radiation oncologist. It's the purview of a GU med onc, somebody
What?
who knows prostate cancer, genitourinary medical oncologist,
Okay.
somebody who knows systemic disease, systemic therapy, which is what you
Okay.
need. And if they're going to put you on Lupron and they're going to put you on stuff, that's systemic. That's not what a urologist is trained to do. They're surgeons.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as we heard from David, we do have a connection with people down there, especially this Mario Belusic, who has treated our guys very well. And he's at the University of Miami.
At which campus, David?
I forgot, Leo. You can look it up. You'll find it.
Okay.
Somebody should try to put it in the chat window.
Yeah, I'll look it up right now, Herb.
Yeah. Is he down in Miami? Is he in Broward? Because I know they have various campuses. I'm just curious.
Yeah. We'll look it up for you, Leo.
Thank you, David. Go ahead, Herb.
So, because the Hill order, I take it you haven't had any genetic testing yet.
No, correct.
You haven't had any. So I think there's a whole bunch of tests. I mean, the PSMA PET scan, the fact that it was negative with a PSA of 50, it's a little suspicious.
Five.
I had
Five. Well, even at 5, it should have showed something. The fact that it's clear, that's a relative. I mean, that's probably a good sign. But again, it has to be interpreted by somebody who knows what they're doing. And that's what a GU med onc is for.
Okay.
And they'll order a whole bunch of other tests.
Okay. So I need an oncologist, not go to my urologist's office and take a shot from him.
No.
Right?
Well, he wants to give you the shot because he makes money.
Right. Right.
No, you want somebody who's an expert in this field, because this is a very unusual situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the standard thought is that people with Gleason 6, it never gets metastatic, as they say.
Okay.
But either you were misdiagnosed or something try, and you need an expert to really look into this to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Because your tissue from your surgery is 7 years old if they still have it. So it probably
Yeah,
is not going to be useful for any kind of other
Yeah, I
diagnosis.
have the full report, from the pathology, which I can share with the oncologist. But I'm just trying to get direction. The doctor at Holy Cross told me that I would need radiation at the base of the prostate and also the hormone therapy consecutively. So I'm just trying to think about that in terms of, do I want to get radiation therapy and go on to something like Lupron, and from what I've been looking and researching, trying to get information, I'm just hesitant to put myself through that kind of aggressive right off the bat treatment. So, but I need to do what I have to do in order to stay alive. I have a 5-year-old and a 8-year-old, and I got a long way to go. So I'm trying to just get the best information possible so that I make the right choices. And I'm hesitating to just move forward as I was being recommended by the doctors. And I said, I need to talk to guys like you, and find, some history, some, you know, uh, what my best options are, if you will, so that I can, make those decisions. And I'd rather wait a few weeks or a month if I need to, before just going off and, taking
Right.
they were trying to give me the shot yesterday.
Very, very wise. So you see, David Muslin put in all the contact information for Dr. Belusic at the University of Miami. So
Thank you. I see it here. Thank you.
yeah, so that would be very logical next step is to get, because he doesn't have skin in the game, so to speak. He's not a radiation oncologist. You've already had surgery. You don't need a urologist anymore, really. A urologist isn't going to help you anymore. But you do have, if you have copies of your surgical report, that should show something. Usually after surgery, they almost always do a pathology post-surgery. It should either confirm that it actually is a Gleason 3+3 or something different. So if you go back to looking at that, or if you don't have it, get a copy of it from whoever did your surgery, because that's important information to have.
Thank you, Peter. I see Kirk has his hand up. Is that right, Kirk?
Sure, go ahead.
I don't understand the recommendation of radiation without knowing what the hell they're irradiating, because they don't have a PSMA scan that shows them where anything is that they want to zap.
That's
Amen,
what I was
Kurt.
thinking.
Yes,
That's
that's
why he
old
needs to go see, why he
technology.
needs to go see Belusic.
That's what they did before PSMA scans. That's what they did to me. They just kind of guessed, oh, it must be there in the prostate bed. That's what they used to do. And but technology has changed in this modern day, and you'll need to go find an expert medical oncologist that can help you, get out of the weeds here and figure out the best way to go.
Yeah.
Can
Thank you.
can I just say one thing? So once you see Belusic, you'll get a real education there, and then you'll come back here, and then we'll really educate you. And I can promise you, the education you get will take the fear out of the disease. We're here for you, and you'll be fine.
Thank you so much. Thank
But
you so much, David.
You need to see the right doc.
Thank you so much. This is an awesome group.
Bob McHugh, you have a comment?
Ravi has a comment to make.
Yeah, this is Ravi.
I was just, it's kind of a moot point. Can I go, Herb?
Yes,
sure.
Peter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Peter, rather. I guess it's a moot point, just in general. I'm surprised that they would do a radical prostatectomy with the Gleason 6.
Well, that's right. I mean, we've all heard that Gleason 3+3 is active surveillance territory. But
Yeah.
you'd be surprised at how many urologists just want to get rid of it because they make money.
But he was
Well,
7 years ago.
my options were radiation or prostatectomy, and I chose prostatectomy. I will say that I'm lucky because I had no incontinence or no erectile dysfunction. So my doctor really did a great job.
Okay.
So I've been operating, fine for the past 6 years. So now it's back, and I just got to take care of it. But I also had a colonoscopy that came out clean too. I had no cancer there either because they were kind of like debating. So I'm just trying to make the right decisions in terms of what kind of treatment I get, and
Right.
I look at the genitourinary oncologist.
I mean,
are you on
Rick
Medi-
just put something in the chat when basically talking about, basically pelvic girdle radiation, potentially to catch micrometastases is one way. So, but I think again, we're not physicians here, but a
Right.
good physician will be the one to take you where you need to go. So, Leo, given your age, given your kid's age, it's time to move to a geo-onc. As we recommend Belusis, there are others I think who we think are less engaged down there at Sylvester, but he's very well trained, and he does, people like him. So I would say call up, make an appointment, and tell us what he tells you.
I'll do that. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming back. Right.
I have a quick clarifying question on the advice. You guys are advising not necessarily that is not enough for a GU oncologist, but that one has to go to a medical GU oncologist.
Well,
That's
medical means, Ravi, medical just means they're trained in internal medicine, not surgery. It just means they're trained to look at your body rather than a piece of it, rather than a radiation oncologist versus a urological surgeon. So a medical oncologist is initially trained in medicine and internal medicine. Then they do a specialty in onc, and then they do another special training in GU onc. So they've got many years of training based on their medical training.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to move on to some of the guys who've been here for a while and who wanted some time tonight. Norm, you had something you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, so I just finished my radiation therapy 2 weeks ago. I finished it on the 31st. Did 35 sessions. So most of the normal stuff, but my legs are cramping something terrible every night. I mean, sometimes it's both of them. Most cramps you can get up and walk them off. I can't even walk, fall right over. And so I've taken magnesium, calcium, potassium. Nothing seems to work. Did anybody else have that problem after radiation?
Julian, do you have something?
Yeah, I had the same thing. I was getting some horrible, terrible leg cramps, but I started drinking pickle juice.
Oh yeah.
And it helped. I mean, it didn't stop, but it helped. It kind of made it subside some, but I still had it. It wasn't a cure-all.
Do you still have them? How long after radiation you still have them?
Probably about 8 months.
Oh man.
They slowly subsided, but every now and then I might get, but it's rare now.
That's good. I'll have to try the pickle juice. Any particular pickle?
No, kosher.
I make koshers, so I'll have to drain the juice off my koshers that I made.
There you go. That works.
Yeah,
That,
it's yeah. Oh, Theraworx.
So
What's Theraworx?
Theraworx. This is Theraworx. It's a pump. It's a pump stuff. It's not under pressure. And one of the guys in Arizona recommended it several years ago. And it's over the counter. You can buy it in a drugstore. And you wake up and you rub it into your legs like you're massaging them. And it worked for me. I still get cramps once in a while, and I keep it right by my bed. Is it greasy? It's not real. I wouldn't call it greasy, but
it's magnesium. It's magnesium oil, isn't it?
What is it? Prevents cramps and spasms, releases muscle tightness and muscle soreness. Yes,
the ingredient in it.
Yes, active ingredient is magnesium sulfate.
Okay. So if you want to do that a little cheaper, I've got the same thing for my wife. Buy magnesium bath salts. Get yourself a spray bottle. Fill it up with the magnesium bath salts. Put water in it. Shake it up. Use it as a spray. It's a tenth of the price of that stuff. Works great for her. Doesn't work for me. For her Parkinson's, it helps.
You want to rub it in. You don't want to just spray your
legs.
Yeah,
no, you rub it in. Yeah, no, we've been using it for about 2 years, but it didn't work on me.
Okay.
Pure magnesium oil. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's two options.
Yeah, it didn't work. I wish it did. Yeah.
Theraworx
I got a bottle of it sitting in the bathroom.
And be prepared, because I haven't had radiation in years, but every once in a while these cramps come back.
Okay,
I don't know why, but it's a gift that keeps on giving somehow radiation.
Yeah, that's all I've heard. Just be prepared to have it last.
There's another product out there that I've used. It's called Caleb Treeze Organic Farms, and it stops leg, foot cramps. And I take a capful of it. In about 2 minutes, the cramps are gone.
Okay, can you put it in the chat?
I will do that.
Great.
Okay, thanks, Richard.
That George, that magnesium sulfate is what I use, and like I say, it didn't work on me. It works great for my wife, but it didn't work on me.
Okay. Is that okay?
That's all I got.
Okay.
Yeah, just one. Yeah.
Les.
Yes, sir. Just a quick one. I was asked a long time ago about a question about how many cores and so forth when I had the biopsy, and I looked it up finally, and there were 12 core samples. 8 of those were malignant, and all 8 of them were Gleason 10. That was it. I just wanted to mention that because I couldn't answer it before.
Okay.
Well, that tells you where you are, Les.
Yeah, right.
So, Les, how many years have you been? When were you diagnosed?
Almost exactly 10 years.
Well, good for you. I mean, 10 years at a Gleason 10 and what you've been through speaks volumes. I mean, you're doing okay.
Well, so far, but going back up, my PSA is rising quite rapidly again. So I'm going up and getting another PSMA scan, 1 week or next Monday.
Okay, well, let us know what's going on.
Will do. That's it.
Okay. Ravi, do you want to say something before you leave? Or have you already left?
No, thank you. But yeah, something's come up and I have to leave. So all I wanted to say was, so when I last spoke, I had undergone fairly severe episodes of radiation cystitis, profuse bleeding for many days, leading to clotting and inability to pass urine. And I had to be hospitalized and underwent a minor surgical procedure to clean up my bladder and what do you call that? Zap the bleeding blood vessels. So I had been advised hyperbaric oxygen therapy. That's what that's the last I spoke to you guys about. I decided to go ahead with it, and have undergone 10 treatments so far. I just want to report on that.
And how is it going? Do you notice a difference?
It's too early to say. I'm still bleeding, but no clotting so far. I've had some ear problems because of the hyperbaric oxygen. My blood pressure went up, but that blood pressure part has gone down. The earache is still a bit of a problem, but I think it's coming down. But as far as the bleeding is concerned, it still continues. No clotting so far. I'm told that I need to do at least 1.5 months more. So it's too early to say.
And
so, Robbie, what kind of a machine do they use? Are you in a big box or a little box?
I'm in a chamber, the single-person chamber. Yeah, it's 2.5 atmospheres of 100% oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And where is this treatment being done?
This is in Maryland, in Glen Burnie. Unfortunately, I had to drive 1 hour each way, and it's a 2-hour procedure, so that takes up 4.5 hours of my time. But I've got to do it. Right. The alternative is scary.
And it doesn't affect your ability to drive and everything when you're done. You're okay?
Yeah, no, it doesn't affect. No, yeah, that's all fine. Yeah, that's all.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for updating us. Yeah, we're with you. You've got a pretty serious case of radiation cystitis. It's not often that guys get that much bleeding and
yeah, I had radiation proctitis too, and I was told that the combination of the two happening at this stage is kind of rare. But
well, we wish you luck and wish you well. Let us
Thank
know.
You. Yeah.
Okay. Mark Vallon.
I just want to see if anybody had any ideas about. I'm tired all the time, and I was on the ADT drugs for 3 years, but I've been on a drug holiday for 9 months, and I'm feeling so much better. I'm so much stronger. The testosterone's come back. The PSA has not come up, but I'm still tired all the time. And I exercise, I eat well, but I don't get much done in a day because I'm just always tired. I just wonder if anybody's got any ideas.
What is your testosterone level? Did that come back up?
It's over 300. It ranges like from 310 to 350.
How's your sleeping?
I've never been good at sleeping. I sleep for 4 hours and I'm up for an hour and I sleep for another few hours. Some nights I get 8 hours of sleep.
Maybe that's something to address.
That's been my whole adult life has been like that. But I went to a sleep clinic. I don't have sleep apnea. They gave me some trazodone to try to help me sleep. And my sleep is irregular. Some nights I get 8 hours. Some nights I get 5 hours.
How do you respond to caffeine?
I don't know that it does anything to me, but I make sure I don't drink any after noon.
So you do drink tea or coffee in the morning or something,
Yes.
and it doesn't stimulate your energy at all, or doesn't have an
Doesn't
effect?
say. I could drink decaf or regular coffee. I don't really notice the difference.
Mark,
Yeah.
this is Jim. Have you checked your potassium levels?
No, have not.
You should. You should anyway. I had the same thing when it happened to Tank because of the diet to lose about let's see, I lost about 30 pounds. And with the food I was eating, I wasn't getting enough and I was tired.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
And
Jim,
also,
what was your potassium level?
What?
Jim, what was your potassium level at that time?
It was down, I don't remember on the scale wise, except it was slightly below the bar, okay, on the bottom. Okay, on the lab test.
Another thing, Mark, that you might, I don't know whether your doctor keeps an eye on your thyroid levels.
I just did a test and it was fine.
Good. Okay, because that's what got me. I mean,
Yeah.
thyroid can knock out your energy really fast if you don't.
Yeah, that was what she
I-
first
I have
thought
to
about.
supplement- I have to supplement for thyroid to keep my energy.
And
Okay, well, I'll check the potassium.
Is your testosterone test total or free testosterone?
I'm not sure. It's I get both a PSA and a testosterone every month.
Right.
And it's the testosterone had been down around 7 while I was on ADT,
Right.
but like I say now it's up between 300 and 350 all the time.
Right. Well, I mean, ADT is another gift that keeps on giving too. I mean, it does a number on us.
Yeah.
And even though our testosterone can come back and we feel better generally, it wreaks havoc on our bodies sometimes. I mean, you can't go through 3 years of ADT without lingering effects. It never really clears up all the way, even though
That's what it feels like.
Yes.
I used to always be able to blame the drugs for feeling tired, but
I know. Yes, it's not fun. It's not fun.
No. Okay, well, thanks, guys.
Okay. Kirk, go ahead.
Just a quick update. Let's see, the January 31st, I had a check-in with my rad-onc after 4 months after, basically 4 months after my radiation ended, and undetectable PSA, testosterone of like less than 10, and got another 6-month Eligard shot. Check again in 6 months, and then in 1 month, I guess I'll see my medical oncologist and go over my genetic testing results. That's all.
Okay. Do your doctors send you the reports, or do you have to go in and kind of?
They have not sent them, and so I have to go in, appointment scheduled, so that's fine. It's in town, so.
Okay, but you make sure you get copies of these things because they're
Oh
yours.
yeah, totally, yeah.
Because sometimes.
Yeah, I've got DVDs of all my imaging and everything, so.
Good. Okay, so Rick is saying, so your Eligard shots are what length are they?
they're 6 months. I had a discussion with Antanorakis about whether 6 months were truly not as effective, and he said that given my age, that they were basically the last couple of months were fine with a 6 month shot versus a 4 month shot. So
Okay, because usually 6 month shots aren't great to have. But,
right.
I would trust that. I would trust Dr. Antanorakis' judgment on this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other concerns, questions?
Nope.
Okay. Julian, you had something you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, my medical oncologist, Dr. Laney, took me off of Nubeqa, darolutamide, and Orgovyx. And I called up both companies and I said, I don't want you to send me any more. My doctor said I don't need it. But lo and behold, they're still sending it to me and they're still putting me on their grant program. What kind of? I have a uncommon problem.
I was on the darolutamide, the Nubeqa program, and I used to have to call up every month and ask for a shipment. And then when I went off, I just stopped calling, and it doesn't come anymore. So I'm off.
I haven't called in a while, but they still. I got a letter from Orgovyx the other day telling me I've been approved for another year to be on it, and they sent me a dosage already. And also, Bayer has sent me another dosage of the Nubeqa, the darolutamide. So I guess I have to call them again and say, hey, put somebody else on this program. My medical oncologist didn't want me to use it anymore. So I thought maybe you use somebody else. Next thing I'm gonna do is call Dr. Lane and say, hey, can you stop this?
No, I would call Bayer and the Orgovyx folks up and see if you can get someone beyond a clerk. See if you can get a nurse, someone who's got a little more authority in there, and they'll help you out. I'm sure.
That was all.
Hey, Julian, I'll take your Orgovyx.
It's sitting on my shelf,
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's hard to get rid of it, and I don't, we don't want to become drug distributors. I tried giving away my darolutamide the other day to my radiation oncologist here, and he wouldn't take it. So I'm not sure what to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Pat Martin.
Get my microphone turned on. Just an update.
Yeah. Good.
I started docetaxel in the end of December. I've been about 7-8 weeks into it. And then I started a experimental drug, capivasertib or Cappy, and that stuff knocked the props right out from underneath me. I couldn't believe it. It just bleeding profusely through my bladder. They finally took me off of it. Now they're wanting to put me back on. Anyway, I think I go up next week for a third shot of docetaxel, shot of Eligard, and then I'll get started back on the capivasertib, see how that works for me again. But other than that, no, that stuff knocked the props out from underneath me in 36 hours. I said, excuse me?
Can you put the name of it in the chat window?
Yes, I can. It's AstraZeneca's putting it out, and I think that's the right name. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, in 36 hours, I spent probably 8 hours in the emergency room and 4 hours
Wow.
in a clinic room trying to get rid of blood out of my bladder and clots and all kinds of stuff. They first trip to the ER, they drained a liter full of stuff, blood, and my wife being an expert seamstress and a artist knows her colors. She says, "Well, that stuff looks like soy sauce," and the ER doc said, "Yeah, it does." So that's the kind of stuff that I was expelling, and not a very comfortable time. Anyway, it kind of cleared up, went to red, and with clots, and they were trying to get me a guy that grew up with 24 color Crayola. Well, what color of red is your urine? It just doesn't work. Anyway, Gala apple. Okay. Anyway, other than that, feeling decent. Like I say, my props are knocked out from underneath me. Got no stamina at all. Anyway, that's
Pat, you've
what I
been
got.
through so much.
Huh?
You've been through so much.
I
So,
have in the last two or 3 months.
yeah.
Yeah. One thing about the docetaxel, just by itself, and Eligard and docetaxel, I have very few side effects. Um, a lot less than Abby, and I was on that for several years. Um, anyway,
Have you ever had? Do you have a neuropathy in the feet at all?
you know what I found is yes, I do, and I get it. A tingling up and down my thighs, and I use a arthritic cream called Voltaren, and it's diflintolac or something like that. And I just rub the bottoms of my feet with that arthritic cream and my thighs with it, and I go through a lot of it, but it's very effective um, in treating the neuropathy, the tingling in my thighs, the tingling in my feet, feel a lot better.
So I did chemo 3 years ago and ended up with um, tolerable neuropathy, but in the balls of my feet. I mean, doesn't incapacitate me, but it's a nuisance and annoying. And for several years, I mean, I live in Hawaii, so we wear rubber slippers around. I mean,
Yeah.
in Hawaii, it's spelled SLIPPAH, slipper. And we used to be able to get ones with massage little rubber bumps on them to walk around.
Okay.
And for 2 years, I've been looking for them. And the other day I went to, so I've just been wearing plain ones, and it doesn't help. But the other day I went to get a new pair, and there was a lady at the CVS store restocking them at that time. And I said, "What happened to the sandals with the bumps?" And she says, "Oh, you got to go to the main store in town and ask for them because they keep them locked up in the back." So
Man.
the other day I went there and I asked, and sure enough, they had them. So now I have the ones with the little bumps on them.
Okay.
And they work like magic for me. I walk around with them in my house and massaging my feet, and I feel like a new person. So it's not going to go away totally, but it's better than wearing socks or anything else. Just
Yeah. We'll have to look those up.
yeah. If you need them, just email me your size and I'll send you a pair. Send me your address and I'll get them.
Very good.
I'll become the distributor.
Okay.
I think they're
What kind
only,
of chemo were you on?
they're $8 or $9 $8 or $9 a pair or something.
Okay. What kind of chemo were you on?
Docetaxel and carboplatin together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Anyway, that's where I'm at.
For the cystitis, it's not a cure-all, but it does seem to take the edge off. I didn't get cystitis very bad at all. I've been drinking it all along. It's corn silk tea. It's dried corn silk. Make a tea out of it. I drink about a half gallon of it a day. That's all I drink now, and I really don't have any cystitis. I don't know if it's that or not. But it's cheap. It's easy. Doesn't taste fairly decent.
Good.
Okay. So we have yeah, it's a tough situation, Pat. We're thinking of you though, and keep us up to date. I mean that sounds terrible. The drug you were on. I'm surprised they're thinking of putting you back on it if you've been hospitalized for it too. I mean that sounds pretty potent.
Yeah, it surprised me that they were going to put me back on it, but then at the same time, it didn't surprise me because they've got a certain amount invested in the drug and a certain amount invested in me. They know me. Although I got to tell you a good story. I went in, I was getting my getting an infusion, and the IV nurse was putting IV in me, and not a nurse, but the gal that was doing the test drug, she asked me a question. Now, I'm old school, like most of us are here. We speak to each other, we look at their eyes. Well, she asked me a question and immediately turned away and bent down, basically mooned me, and she was asking me how I was. So I waited till she's done talking, and I said, well, I'm okay, except my head's going to explode. And boy, she stood up and turned around, just about fell down. And the gal that was getting my IV needle in me, I see her head bobbing up and down, just laughing like crazy. And I'm glad her hands were steadier than her head because I'd have looked like a pincushion. Anyway, she had a good laugh. She and I had a good laugh. The research gal, she was a little upset with me, but you know what? Respect me enough to look at me when you're asking a question. That's all I ask. I'm simple. I'm old school. Anyway.
Right. Very good.
That was worth it being in the study just to get her one time.
Okay. You know, Pat, you're not obligated to stay in the study. You can withdraw your consent at any time. You don't have to go through with it.
I know. I read through those all the way through, and I can't. I'll probably go back on and see. I'm old school again. I see cause and effect. I was a carpenter. If I hit my hand with a hammer and it hurt, it was probably because I hit my hand with a hammer. And the same thing with this drug. I take it, I pee blood. And they're going through the whole thing while trying to figure out what it was and talk to another, a urologist. He figures it was from my radiation from 6 years ago. Talked to a radiation oncologist. He figured about the same. And I don't know. I've got tumors in my bladder. I've got tumors. I had dirty margins at the neck of my bladder after I had my prostatectomy, and so I know I've got tumors in that area. So, and they're blood rich. So anyway, God's with me. We're good.
Yes, and we're all different, and we all react to different drugs differently, and there's no magic formula. I mean,
there really isn't.
No, there isn't. So I think I've gone through everybody that wanted to speak. There might be some others that might have some something that came in later. I just want to give you a quick update on my situation. I do my next infusion, my next Keytruda infusion a week from Thursday. So, and I did a blood test last week and met with my local oncologist PA. So, as we often say, we're managing our own disease. We're our own best advocate. So, my PSA had dropped down to 0.331, and then a week later 0.34. And then I did a blood test a week ago or so, and my PSA had gone up to 0.7. And I met with my physician assistant from my local medical oncologist, and she walks into the room and says, I talked to the doctor and we think you should go back on Lupron. And I said, whoa, let's not go there. I don't think that's the way to go. I think the Keytruda is actually working. And what we had done was the standard treatment was every 3 weeks, and it was working for me pretty well, even skipping sessions. So we switched to every 6 weeks, and I tried that. And it seems like my PSA started going up a little bit. So I said, how about if we fine tune this? We're in uncharted water here. Nobody knows the answer. How about instead of 6 weeks, we go down to 4 weeks? And she called the doc up and they agreed, and they said, yeah, let's try 4 weeks. And I emailed Dr. Antanorakis and told him what was going on, and that I declined doing Lupron. I didn't want to go back on ADT, and I wanted to try 4 weeks. And he wrote me back right away, even though I haven't seen him since October. And he said, yes, that's a smart move. Don't go back on Lupron. 4 weeks. You're on the right track. So some of this stuff we've got to fine tune, even though the drug company might say, oh no, you got to take it every 3 weeks. We're every one of us is moving at this point in advanced disease in unknown territory. I know I am. I don't know anybody doing the treatment I'm on. And my doctors don't know anybody doing the treatment that I'm on.
Right.
So they're willing to move with me, and I'm not doing anything radical or strange. I'm just trying to fine tune it and find the formula that works best, because I know it's working. But I want to just keep it working. So that's where I am in this journey, and I'll keep you informed about it.
So George said he has something.
Yeah, George. Yeah, tell us what's gone on. Have you been able to catch a doctor?
Yeah. Okay. I got in here late. Well, I'm a Gleason 9 with another problem called ulcerative colitis, and we ruled out, because of my age, we ruled out surgery. And as far as radiation goes, we're very cautious about the colitis, and met with a doctor at Duke, an oncologist, medical oncologist, who we were anticipating just doing hormone therapy. And he reviewed my case and said he really would not recommend that we do only hormone therapy, but that I should reconsider radiation. And in fact, he set me up with a radiation oncologist at Duke by the name of Dr. Fectu, whose wife happens to be a gastroenterologist, and met with Dr. Fectu, and he and his wife both agreed. And as they talked to Dr. Lee at Duke, who seems to be the resident expert on radiation, they've treated other people with ulcerative colitis with radiation successfully. And they think that I should reconsider radiation. However, first they want me to meet with the gastroenterologist at Duke, and I have a meeting tomorrow with a lady doctor by the name of Nicole Jowitz. I'll be meeting with her tomorrow to give her, and she's got all my data, all the pathology on the colitis. And I anticipate that she will probably make a recommendation to Dr. Fektu, the radiation oncologist. And when I met with him, he was debating whether we do a 5-day, I don't know if it's SBMT or
SBRT.
SBRT or IMRT, or whether we do 5 days or whether we do 28 days. But he said he wanted me first to meet with the gastroenterologist and then go from there. Either way, if I do, it'll all start with the hormone therapy for 2 months before the radiation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am. Gastroenterologist tomorrow, and we go
Which
from there.
medical oncologist did you get to see at Duke?
I tried to see Dr. George, but it was next to impossible for at least a month and a half. So I met with, set me up with Dr. Harrison, who was very good. His take was that.
So what's his name? Could you repeat that? Is he a GU Med-Onc?
He is.
What's his first name?
I think it was. I think it was Ronald, I believe, Harrison. He was from the oncology department at Duke. He was like the one who would do the hormone therapy for people. And he said, he said for 2 years I would be on a honeymoon with the hormone treatment. And then he says their experiences have been that you can get resistant, the cancer can get resistant to the hormone, androgen deprivation, right. And that you also run a risk of late set diabetes, possible heart problems in the long run. And then that's when he said, don't rule out radiation so quickly. That's who I met with, and as I say, he did not recommend just continuous hormone treatment. I'm 82 years old, so anyway, that put me back into reconsider radiation once the gastroenterologist gives me a plan.
Well, I'm really glad you got to Duke. It sounds like they're on the ball, and they're consulting with each other and sending you to experts that have experience with the colitis and so forth. Yeah,
I was very pleased because they do talk to each other, and in fact, even when I was visiting with Dr. Harrison, he just stepped out of the office and said, "I'm going to make a phone call over to this Dr. Fektu," and so that's very pleasing because here in Wilmington, where I live, they don't talk to each other. And it's next to impossible to even speak to them personally. But anyway, I'm very pleased that I was able to get over to Duke. And
so is Harrison pretty young?
I would say early 50s.
Huh.
Early 50s.
But Herb, I suspected a place like Duke that Harrison would consult with Dr. Armstrong and Dr. Dan George. I mean they're in the same institution. I suspect that if they have questions, they'd probably talk to each other.
Huh.
Yes, I suspect so. So I'll let you know how things go later in the month.
Yeah, I think you're in much better hands now.
George, this is David Muslin. I've had ulcerative colitis most of my life, and I had the radiation at Northwestern in Chicago, and the doctors coordinated and spoke, and when they hit me with the radiation, it was fine. I thought I had radiation proctitis a couple of weeks ago. It turned out to be I just had a real bad Crohn's flare. My rectum is fine, and they protected it actually. So if they're aware of it and they map it out correctly, they can protect you.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're in good hands. Well, we've come to our time. I promised it would be 2 hours, and on my watch it says 2 hours. So this has been a good meeting. I promised Herb we'd go 2 hours.
Right.
We go longer, right? You said you're going to cut us off. So it's been great. Thank you much, guys. Happy Valentine's Day.
See you on Monday.
Yes.
See you on President's Day.
Yes.
Thank you, Peter.
You all.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
you.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay.
Good
Good
job.
night, everyone.
Great job, Peter. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.